Right, so Mr. Dida, can we now shift the conversation largely to your vision of leadership? Because you're saying that the dispossessed, the have-nots are very, very ready for President Dida to lead them. In what way would you be different from these mad, selfish people whom you've described?
One thing that shocked me, you know, there was hope when we got to the new constitution. And there was hope when we got the commission for salaries, remuneration and salaries commission. But I was shocked yesterday when I see the management of the commission, who were earning 300,000, have added their salary. Now they propose that we want to earn 750. I was shocked. They proposed 14 billion, and this money is to be paid by that gentleman who is jobless, by that lady who is selling her bananas.
I should imagine that the person who's jobless has no money to pay taxes.
They pay, if the man is jobless, he's depending on his sister or mother or father at home. One of them is affected by the huge imposed taxes. Sometimes you come home and you tell your wife, I can't manage the huge house rent. I can't manage the taxes. Look at what I'm getting. So why don't you talk to your parents so that they can add something for what we have?
With respect, you're giving very many instances of inequalities, people taking advantage of greed and corruption and all that. I'm asking you, given this forum, because you are the person, and I will quote you to yourself. You're now in a media forum. You have said of the media, I've come to media houses, they keep telling me that they will send reporters to my meetings, they never do. The media is biased. When we approach them to convey what we have, we are a bother, yet they bother the rich. So let's take the rich for granted. Now you have a forum and a few minutes in which to say, what would you offer that would be different? So don't evoke the scenario, please evoke the solution.
My manifesto and what we want to deliver to Kenyans are 5 items. Item number 1, we are looking at life overall. How do we live? How many people are comfortable today?
Well, for those who haven't read your manifesto, could you go very quickly through the 5, because it could take 5 minutes to describe each one.
We are looking at life.
The quality of life.
Yeah, the quality of life.
Right. Number 2.
Number 2, we are looking at the family.
The family.
The family.
Number 3.
Number 3, we are looking at property.
Property.
Number 4, we are looking at intellect.
Intellect.
Number 5, we are looking at religion.
Right.
These are the 5 issues.
I would say that those notions are very sort of airy-fairy, non-concrete notions. Let's take 1, intellect. What are you going to do to improve the quality of the intellect of Kenyans?
You have seen in your family, in the neighbors, and in Kenya, somebody who has gone through the system of education, has a PhD in physics, and cannot help himself if there is a problem with electricity in the house. He can stay the whole night in the darkness. You know, it is rote learning. There is no application of what we are learning. I don't know the relevance. How many Form 4s have wasted their 8 years in primary and 4 years in secondary after 12 years? What happens to the 109,000 standard 8 leavers who are locked out of the Form 1 secondary school? There is nothing. The 8 years they have taken will help them. There's nothing.
But I would suggest that the 109,000 who are locked out, the 150 million jobless, are so because there are no jobs for them to take. So how will you create the jobs?
We will create the jobs by, and I tried this, you know, they are friendly and willing countries to help us. It's only that they fear the magnitude of corruption in the country.
Right.
And Kenya is very rich. Kenya is very rich.
But the friendly countries would do what exactly?
They are in need of human resource. And we have so many men and women educated.
So you would ship Kenyans abroad to go and work as
yes, Europe
labor?
needs them. Europe needs
Surely
them.
not. Europe doesn't need them. Europe has got very strict measures to make sure that people don't get jobs in Europe. People die in the Mediterranean being sent back home because they don't have any jobs in Europe. That's a bad example.
57 employment bureaus registered and accredited.
When Kenyans go and work abroad in places like Saudi Arabia, they come back with horror tales of slavery and being abused by their, and you're suggesting that under your wise leadership you're going to take these people to have those conditions?
This frustration is because the government of Kenya is lacking a legal infrastructure. It is the government to sell its human resource to the other government. There must be a memorandum of association. It is this government, Kenyan government, that must spell, this is my Kenyan citizen, this is the salary that he should earn.
Are we reading different newspapers, or am I not reading tales of the Kenyan government being unable to repatriate its own citizens from countries where you'd say you'd farm them off to be laborers?
I traveled sourcing employment.
Right.
When I went there, the agreement...
Where's there?
In the Middle East.
Exactly.
I traveled in the Middle East.
Right.
Some employment bureaus were going to Australia and Europe. Now, when I went there, it is you, in your capacity as a Kenyan citizen, who is bargaining. And when you're handling the SAR.
Your solution as President Dida is to propose a mass exodus of Kenyans to go and work elsewhere.
With a bargain by the government. What I told them as an employment.
But you should also read the papers up until now and know that the diaspora Kenyans accounts for a huge percentage of the wealth that is brought back to Kenya. These people are in the United States, they're in the UK, sending back millions to their cousins, aunts, and disadvantaged relatives here. Which percentage of the population are you going to send abroad?
I want to tell you of my experience.
Yes,
and I want to tell you of the market outside.
Right.
If you look at the Middle East, God has blessed them with oil and a lot of mineral resources.
Right.
They were in, their education system was in Arabic. They are currently changing to English. And they suggested, because Kenyans are very good in the British system, they have gone and they are good in English, why don't we borrow HR from Kenya and Russia? And this is what we got, the communications we got. Now, as a company, you go and bargain. This is what I was told. We need 1,000 drivers. And there are so many here. But the terms you are given is their salary is 40,000 Kenya shillings. And that is it. Then I was telling them, when you get this man or woman to come and work for you for 3 years without going back home, what happens to the children by this lady? What happens if it is a woman you have employed to the man? Why don't you employ the husband to drive your vehicles for the 3 years, and then you also get the wife and the children a small room, so that when he works and he comes. This is what I was telling.
I'm still somewhat shocked. You're going to export Kenyans as slave labor to other countries.
This is we are rich in human resource. If people want your assistance, if they want the skills that you have, you take them. Qatar wanted quantity surveyors, and we were interviewing people. They said we want to pay 150,000. If the government, when we went there and they could not accept our terms, we came back here, we went to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we went to the Minister of Labor, we had a 3 days meeting at the Kenya School of Law, and we were told, fine, what is happening is not what you can handle. Let's form a commission. Even if the Kenyan government wants to bury anything, a commission of inquiry is formed to go and investigate what is happening in this. And the government wrote, let me just finish.
We only have a minute. We only have a minute to go.
Yeah, the government has clearly placed it in the newspapers.
Yes.
That don't go, these places are risky. But every night and every day, they go thousands and thousands. Because
could you use your last minute to have a final word or a message to our viewers, this 30 seconds that now remain?
What I want to tell my viewers is we are all human beings. I'm reasoning and I'm thinking and I'm explaining this. When I talk of a lady working outside Kenya, I'm just imagining of my daughter. If it is getting money, I will have gotten so many of them. Go and check my records with the Minister of Labor. There is nothing. It reads nil, 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 because that environment was not there. So what I'm saying is, I'm struggling and I'm talking to everybody. If I am educated and I'm 40 years old, almost, and I cannot make ends meet, what will happen to our children? What will happen to that young boy and young girl coming up with hopes? You cannot make it. I cannot make it. How will they make it? We need to sacrifice. We need to sacrifice all what we have to expose the truth. And you have no reason to doubt what I have for you. I'm a brother. We are human beings. We are not animals. We are Africans. We are Kenyans. I'm going through the huge rents that you are going through. I'm going through the huge transport. Today, the landlord will just knock at your door and tell you, it is by fifth, the rent is up. You go into a matatu with 30 shillings, you are told it is 80. There's no control of this. Things have become difficult. We need to be a united team. And I usually tell people, you don't know me, or you may know others better, but God understands best. So we need...
Mohammed Dida, we have to leave it there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on the JSA interview.
Thank you, John. Thank you.